All right, so we got two NBA games tonight, and in both of them, the market is pretty much asking the same question, but in two different ways. How much do you trust urgency, and do you trust the team who is just flat out better? Because one game gives you the better team laying the points with really nothing left to prove, and the other game, well, they give you a desperate team catching a number against a home favorite the market loves. And that could be where the value lives tonight. Hey, it's Joe Raineri with WagerTalk.com. And before we dive into the Pistons at the Magic and the Sixers at the Spurs, just a quick heads up here, because if you like this style of breakdown, I'm going to let you know at the end of them how you can ride with me through the NBA playoffs and get every one of my best bets through the NBA Finals, and you can do it at a huge discount. But let's start here in Orlando, because right now the market has Detroit around 3.5 point favorite on the road. Total sitting around 223. Now, early money was on Orlando here. This thing was as low as 2.5 from the open. And now they just scratched Franz Wagner from the game for Orlando. And we've seen the Detroit money come back in, pushing this line back to about 3.5. And this is an interesting number because now it's hovering at over a bucket, and it's one of those spots where will win probability and cover probability really be the same thing? Because Detroit's the better team. That part I think we can all agree is easy. They've already, for the most part, locked up the top seed in the East. They're up 4 games on Boston with 4 games to go. They've been winning even without Cade Cunningham, and if you're just asking who has the better chance to win the game straight up? Of course, it's still Detroit. But that's not the whole story here, because the books are still asking you to lay road points with a team that doesn't have a huge motivational edge here remaining. They're also missing their leading guard and scorer. They also won't have Isaiah Stewart, and they could be without Tobias Harris and Duncan Robinson, depending on availability closer to tip. Now, that's where this gets a little trickier. Because if you want to lay it with Detroit, well, here's your case, right? You got the more complete team. They've already shown they can function more than capable without Cade Cunningham. And we already know Orlando's offense goes through stretches where it's just ugly and they can't be trusted. No consistency. So Detroit has more than enough to control the game here from beginning to the end. Now, that's the case for Detroit. Detroit doesn't need to be at full strength to win this game. But if you're betting the spread, the Orlando case is more interesting. Now, yes, no Franz Wagner here, and the spot isn't great for them as they're playing the second of a back-to-back after coming from behind to beat New Orleans last night. But this feels like one of those spots where we've got urgency here with Orlando, and they might be the better ATS team, even if they're not the better team overall here. Orlando still has real seeding motivation, currently stuck in that number 9 seed here, just ahead of Miami. It would be great if they can make a push here at the end and maybe push themselves up to the 8th seed. Why? Because the 7th or 8th seed only need to win 1 game in the play-in. So there's real motivation here, and that matters when you're asking a road team with not a whole lot of motivation or a whole lot at stake this point in the season to separate in the end. And that's the key in this game, because Detroit may be more likely the team that wins this game, but Orlando may have the cleaner path to the cover. Because if this game is competitive late, if Orlando brings a playoff level intensity at home, and they've always been good at home, and if Detroit is even a little flat here, well, then that 3.5 starts looking pretty attractive. And I think that's the split. Straight up, love Detroit. If you want to use them in parlays and those types of things, I think Detroit has a clear path to winning this game. But against the number, you're going to give me 3.5 points. I'm a motivated Magic team. I might lean that way. I think it's playable, though, to 3. I don't know that it's going to go back towards Detroit here. But at 3.5, I'm interested. I'm still okay if you're getting 3 points here with Orlando. But I would look to bet it live if you're going to be looking at anything less than that. So I think Orlando's got a shot at covering this. I think a big all-out effort is coming. I'm not excited about laying road points here with a top seed that really has already clinched what they want to clinch. So I'd rather take the more urgent team and the points, and that is with the Orlando Magic here. Also, slightly to the under in this spot. Orlando's defense not likely to be what it has been in years past. At least it hasn't been. We know Detroit has slowed the tempo down a ton here. I could see a scenario where the under is in play, and that is the way that I would lean in that game. All right, let's head over to the other game here tonight. The 76ers taking on the Spurs here. And this number has San Antonio sitting around, 8.5 right now. The total is in that 236.5 to 237 range. And I think the angle in this game is pretty straightforward, right? Philly is more desperate. San Antonio has been the better team. Philly needs to stay out of the play-in tournament as there is only one game separating the 9th-seeded Magic and the currently 6th-seeded Sixers. So there's not a lot of room for error here in the final 3 or 4 games of the season. So Philadelphia needs this game way more as San Antonio, thanks to that loss in overtime in Denver on Saturday, they're 3 games behind OKC for the number 1 seed in the West, but with only 4 games to go, doesn't look like it's a reality or a priority at this point. So the Sixers are chasing their way out of the play-in, and they've got 3 straight road games here to finish this push. I mean, that is real urgency. But urgency alone doesn't make it the right side. Just because they have to win doesn't mean they will win. And the market is telling you that. Because even with Philly needing this game more, the books still hung 7.5, and the market is betted up to 8.5 and even 9 in some spots. That's a lot of respect for the Spurs, and I think it's very well deserved. San Antonio has been the steadier team. They've been excellent at home. They got the better record, better home team, better current form. All of that matters in this spot, especially the fact that they're coming off a loss in a game they should have won. Now, if you want to lay it with San Antonio, I think that case is pretty simple, right? They're the better team. They've been more consistent, and they're facing a Sixers team that has a ton of pressure on them right now. They're on the road. They're still trying to play enough offense around a pretty shaky overall profile for a team that is hopefully going to remain healthy from this point over. But unlike the Detroit game, I don't think the market is confusing win equity here with cover equity because I think the Spurs are just a better side. Now, if you want Philly, the argument is clear, right? They need the game more. Maxey is good to go. Paul George is good to go. They'll have their full complement of players here, including Embiid. But if desperation translates into pace, aggression, foul pressure, sure, the Sixers, I think, can absolutely hang around inside this kind of number. But that's the dog case. I still think San Antonio is the better bet, especially coming off of that loss to Denver here. I think the market is still not scared to hang a big number against this Sixers team, even though the urgency is clearly there for them. I think that tells you something. It tells you also that San Antonio's home court edge, current form, their team profile, and of course Wemby still carry more weight than the Sixers' desperation, and I agree with it. I like the Spurs in this spot. I'd lay the 8.5. I'd play it to 9. I'm definitely in at 8.5, but I wouldn't push it much past 9 because if that starts climbing, we start getting closer to double digits, then I think you're just paying too much for the better team, and I'd rather pass than chase in this spot. And a game like this, I'd rather trust the better team at home than the more desperate one. As far as the total goes, I do lean to the under, 236.5 in this spot. I think the number is already inflated into shootout territory, and once the total gets pushed this high, you're not asking whether points can be scored. You're asking whether the game actually needs to stay hot for 48 minutes to get that cover. I'm not sure it does, especially with the market already moving this thing up from a lower open. So I lean the under, but the side, I think, is still the better bet for me. So quick recap in these two games, guys. Tonight, Pistons at Magic. I'll take the Magic with that hook at plus 3.5 at home in a very, well, must-win spot here. Doesn't mean they will, but I think the Magic are going to show up here tonight against the Pistons here. And I would play it down to 3. I do lean under slightly at the 223.5 mark. But my best bet is the Spurs here. I think they're good at 8.5. I think it's playable to 9. And the under 236.5 is where I lean. Now, coming into tonight, guys, I had mentioned great opportunity for you to partner with me here throughout the NBA playoffs. Coming into tonight, 110, 79, and 2 this NBA season. That's a 58.2 winning percentage across 191 plays. I'm one of the most profitable handicappers this year in the association. Why? Well, I'm up over 51 units on the season. So if you want to ride with me through the NBA playoffs, you can lock in every one of my top plays, my best bets through the NBA finals right now for just $199. This package is normally $249, so there's value in jumping in early. Lock that number in now. These videos give you a pretty good look at the process that I go through when handicapping these games. But the package, well, that's every bet I'm actually firing on through the finals. So visit my page over at WagerTalk.com. Use that shortcut code WT.buzz/JR. And don't forget, check out all the other great game previews we have on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Become part of that WagerTalk TV family. Listen, good luck on the games tonight, and I certainly look forward to seeing you for another game preview. Cheers. Enjoy. We'll see you again soon.